All right, the return of that dynamic duo. Gentlemen, we're going to tease this thing. One-word answer, please. Should President Bush meet with Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke? Robert Reich, yes or no?
Yes.
Steve Moore, yes or no?
Yes, we need a steady hand at the wheel. Bush, this is a good way for Bush to show
One
he's still in charge.
One word, Steve.
Yeah,
One word.
All right, Bob Reich, you get equal time. Should they make an announcement after the meeting,
No,
Bob
I want
Reich?
to say that from the standpoint of Republicans and the White House, Bush should meet with Bernanke, but from the standpoint of the economy as a whole, it doesn't matter.
All right, we're for keeping America great. As always, we are firm believers in the Kudlow Creed. All right, welcome back. Let's look at the politics of this financial turmoil. Is it time for a presidential moment? Welcome back to our dynamic duo, Robert Reich, former Labor Secretary and Professor of Public Policy at UCal Berkeley, and Steve Moore, Senior Economics Writer for the Wall Street Journal Editorial Board. So, Robert Reich, is there a presidential moment here? Is there any compromise in the Fed's independence if they have a meeting between Mr. Bush and Mr. Bernanke?
I don't think it's a compromise in its independence. Look, Larry, I think it would be good for George Bush, for the Republican Party, for the White House in general, to meet with Bernanke. It can't hurt. It's not going to compromise Bernanke's independence. I don't think it's going to do any good. I think it's irrelevant to basically what's happening in the economy. But as a photo op, sure. If I were advising George Bush, I'd say, yeah, do it.
You know, Steve Moore, years ago in the early 80s, when inflation was raging, President Reagan met with Paul Volcker several times in the Oval Office, and Reagan said to Volcker, whatever you need to fight inflation, I'm going to stand behind you. Should Bush be telling Bernanke, whatever you need to fight the threat of deflation, I'll stand behind you?
Well, first of all, it's so good to have Bob Reich back because for the last few weeks you keep putting me on with intellectual inferiors, so I'm glad to have Bob back.
Oh,
and I don't
Steve,
know,
I'm
by
so
the way,
glad
Bob,
to hear that.
I don't know
Thank
if
you
it's just
so
coincidence that the market melted down just when you took your vacation, but good to have you back.
No, it wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence. It was all planned that way.
Here's the point about the Fed chairman and President Bush. You're exactly right. You know me, Larry. I love fighting inflation, and I think it's really important for Bush to inspire some confidence right now. I think a meeting with Ben Bernanke to talk about I'm still bullish on the economy. I still think that this is going to flame out. We're going to hit bottom pretty soon, and we're going to go on another bull market expansion. But these are tough times, and I think the public wants to see some reassuring signs from the White House and the Fed.
And look, I think there needs to be more than reassuring photo opportunities.
What do you have in mind?
I think Ben Bernanke and the White House have got to come forth with a strategy. I mean, whether the strategy involves expanding lending authority for Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, whether it involves putting a little bit more liquidity into the system, deregulating this, regulating some of these hedge funds so that people have a little bit better idea what kind of risk they're getting into. I mean, there needs to be some activity that actually addresses the fundamental problems here.
Let me challenge you on one point. I agree with some of what you're saying. What I disagree with is this idea that we need a bigger role for Fannie and Freddie. I mean, what you're talking about is shifting the losses that are now on the books of the banks and the investors and putting them on the books of the taxpayer. I thought we agreed.
No, I'm not saying that. But
a moral hazard problem.
Steve, I am not in favor of bailing out speculators, but there are many people who are not speculators who are getting very badly hurt in this. Many ordinary people who had their homes who are going to have their homes foreclosed on. I mean, you keep on talking about the big guys. I'm talking about average working Americans who are seeing their savings beginning to dry up.
Bob, the institutions that are most responsible for pushing home buyers into mortgages that they can't afford have been the FHA and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Hang on a second, gentlemen. We are going to take a quick break.
With that.
Hang on. I want to hear that disagreement. We're going to do it right after the break. President Bush, Ben Bernanke, what about Treasury man Henry Paulson and what he said about losing economic growth? We will be right back with Reich and more duking it out on virtually every topic.